Hello, this is Victor. I'm here talking about the topic of the week started by Vince Venturella and is using non-game version miniature in our armies. And I will say that I use some, not too much. And the main reason is I'm not using too much miniatures that are not Games Workshop first is because I play on a Games Workshop store. No, so I wanted to be able to play with my armies, and in the Games Workshop store you only can play with Games Workshop miniatures, of course. I fully understand that. The other point is I only look for alternative miniatures when I don't have the option or when I have a very good deal on my hands, and I will explain some of that. But I will say that normally you don't reach the same level of detail, and yeah, I'm not the same finesse on the miniatures that I used to have on Games Workshop. Although we will have some good miniatures out there, and I still have some on my targets or some of my point of view that I will some that I would like to test, especially from how it's called, is it Affairs and Girls of the Galaxy. Forgot now the name of the company, but is yeah, there are some nice feminine miniatures that I would like to include in my armies. But here we have some alternative miniatures that I use in my armies and some companies, and I will explain my feelings on them. And I will start with this guy. This is this lady. So this is the first one of the first miniatures that are not non-Games Workshop that I found just by looking in eBay. And I find this really interesting. I really like it. My first idea was to use her as a what's called this? I forgot now the name. Well, the leader of the Adeptus Sororitas, but I wanted to use her with wings because she was winged. They changed the rules and you cannot put any more backpacks, jetpacks on the Adeptus Sororitas. And then I decided just to change her, and I use her as Inquisitor, so as a feminine Inquisitor. So I changed the weapon. This weapon is the original one, but then I changed the left arm by a left arm of a Grey Knights. I add some more parchments and putty seals. I put a backpack there. I use this backpack to simulate that she's using quite arcane technology, and I went for gold colors. So I was really pleased how this miniature was looking like at the end. I think it's a great miniature, and I think it's matching quite well and it's working quite well as Inquisitor with some strange powers and some arcane technology. I also used Reaper miniatures in fantasy. I wanted to do some duelists, and I wanted really to paint something different. I wanted to break a little bit from what I was painting, and then I really like some of the Reaper feminine miniatures and this type of pirates. So I thought that they will give a nice touch in my army, in my Dogs of War, and I decided to paint them. The other thing I was scouting a lot for feminine miniatures was for my Katachan Imperial Guard. I have to say now Astra Militarum. Here I use some Reaper miniatures. The problem I find with Reaper miniatures, this is okay, but the problem is when you want to use the actual weapons, they are a little bit too big for Reaper miniatures. So they look a little bit smaller, and I think the scale is a little bit smaller. But so far I was quite happy, and I wanted to include some feminine miniatures in my army. I think once you work with the paint job, and they can match quite well the rest of the army, and yeah, and I really enjoy to paint them. Then another company that I use, and I have a couple of units of them, is the Gamza. So this is they only do metal. By the way, on Reaper miniatures I only use metal miniatures. I didn't go for Reaper bones. I'm not sure to use them. I will say Reaper miniatures, the proportions are less heroic. The miniatures are more proportioned. As you can see, the hands are really small. The arms are really thinner. So really, the proportions are a little bit different than than the Games Workshop, but yeah, the detail is not as crazy as Games Workshop, but they are quite nice miniatures, and they are quite not too expensive. The only thing is, if you want to paint units, they can become expensive. If you compare to heroes, they are cheap. If you compare to the cost of the units, they can be expensive if you go for metal. And here I have the Game Zone miniatures. So these are ones that I use as pistoliers. I love them because they have this Spanish look and they work very well and they match perfectly in my Dogs of War army. Really a very nice miniatures. And then as was difficult to find how it's called, these men of arms, this is not men of arms, is the peasants on horses for my Bretonians. I found some Game Zone miniatures and I decided why not to mix them. The only thing I find is if you compare to the actual Games Workshop miniatures, the rider is a little bit smaller and the proportions are less heroic. These ones really you cannot once they are painted you cannot see the difference. The detail is pretty good. Here I just add the horn at the back to use him as a musician. The detail is quite good. The finishing is nice and it's clean, so I was really happy with these miniatures. The only point is that they are metal. Then I also use the old Warzone miniatures, Mutant Chronicles Warzone miniatures. These are all Bauhaus, and then what I use them as a base, but as you can see I do a weapon swap. I add some additional backpacks. This is the original backpack from these guys, and here I add just another different backpack. So these miniatures I use them as the elite choice with Kapara's armor, and yeah, and I think they really do the work. So again, I was quite happy. The only thing is they are all plastic monopose. You only have two really poses, so I will not do a lot of units because they will look almost cloning one of each other. You can play with swapping the arms and doing some changes here and there, but once you have painted unit, it's difficult to add more variation. And the last company I tried that is not Games Workshop is Sibore, or Sibore, I don't know really how to pronounce. They do this type of bike Space Marines. I wanted to use them because I cannot find good characters in Games Workshop on bike, except know that they have the Death Watch guy and a couple, but there isn't really not a good thing. Even if you want to do Space Marine chapter master on bike, there is not a good choice. So I found them and I think, okay, this bike looks quite interesting, a little bit too maybe baroque for my taste, but let's pick one and see how it's looking like. And I paint this guy, and the only thing I did not like is that the finishing is a little bit rustic, to say it in a way. It's not thin, so the miniature is nice, but of course I add more things. The only thing I was not pleased is in some parts there is some miscast. Yeah, but so far I was quite happy at the end with the result. I think the only problem I would really have is the scale is a little bit bigger than Warhammer 40k, and this is the normal base for bikes. So if you compare to another bike, this is really a big one. It's good for heroes. I don't think will work for units. They are a little bit too big, but I think for heroes it will work quite well. So as you can see here, I did a Psyker, and I'm planning to do also the full heroes. I will do a Chaplain, I will do Tech Marine, and I will do the Chapter Master, because I have 4 bikes from Sibor. So this is some examples and some findings. Summarizing, normally I don't change from Games Workshop because I find the detail of Games Workshop, and after painting some other miniatures from other companies, I think that the Games Workshop that is really ahead from the competition from other companies. Second, I really know embracing plastic. Plastic is much easier to transform, much easier to change. The only advantage I have sometimes with metal is that you have a monopose and you don't have to assemble anything, just a little bit of cleanup and that's all. But when you go to something more complex, I really like plastic. It's much better to work today. Although some metal miniatures, it's not a problem for me. I will not stop buying a miniature because it's metal, but today really I prefer plastic. It was not the same in the past when plastic was not that good. Uh, but the level of detail and the level of finesse of Games Workshop sometimes is not found in other companies. Although once it's painted and if you have to, you can do a nice paint job, they will match quite well with the rest of my collection. And sometimes it's good to see what other companies see and to benchmark if what you're paying for Games Workshop is really worth it or not. So far, after painting these miniatures and knowing what are the cost of them, I think Games Workshop is a little bit more expensive, but the level of details and the level of parts, because we don't have to forget that, especially in the units, we have so many bits that we can use for other things that is not normally happening in our companies. So really here I will say that these are the companies that I have tried. Reaper miniatures metal, mainly Gamza miniatures, the old Warzone, Mutant Chronicles Warzone, and Sibore miniatures. Them all are quite good. I don't regret buying them, but they have some also drawbacks. As you can see, Reaper miniatures, they can look a little bit thinner, smaller. Game Zone are the ones that are matching the best the scale of Games Workshop, and then yeah, the Seawork is a little bit too big, and sometimes the finishing does not have that finesse in and they would like to have. So that's all what I want to share in this video. These are my experiences with other companies. If you find miniatures on other companies that you like it, I will always encourage you to at least to give a try to one miniature. It's always interesting to see what other companies can offer to us. And to be fair, I have a lot of in my when I'm scouting or searching in internet, I really like to look other miniatures. So far I did not buy recently from other companies because really Games Workshop is making me a hard time just following up all the launches and all the awesome kits they are just launching recently. That's all for now. I hope you have enjoyed this video. Please let me know, put in the comments below what other companies you have tried and what are other companies that you would like to see. And of course, I will put also a link to the Vince Venturella video in the description below. As usual, thanks a lot for watching and see you again later. Bye.